Hello everyone, I'm Bill. Welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be a recap for the Sunday campaign. The party is running away from a big threat. The Minotaur that they saw in the town got teleported away by the Lich, and I had forgotten that detail and it reminded me last week. So we rolled for how long he'll be out before he can influence anything going on, and they got, I believe it was 18 months. So they got a year and a half until it returns, at least to this area. Now they might be able to meet up with it sooner if they travel to an area closer to where it's at. The party landed on an island that had a small town, and that they said that they usually get raided every once in a while by a few Cyclops. And there is a beholder somewhere on the island. They describe it as what would be a beholder, and then the party, being experienced players that they are, came to the conclusion. So they set off to see what they can do. They were warned that there is a Cyclops village on the opposite side of the island. So the party ventures out. They find a small sailing ship landing close to a alcove cave. And they follow that around. They search it, and they see that there are some Cyclops going in and out of the cave. And then the Cyclops begin leaving. They were oblivious to the scouts, which were the gargoyles, flying overhead. So they took the opportunity as the Cyclops were leaving, because they assumed these were the raiders. They destroyed the ship and made sure there was no survivors. And that went pretty fast and pretty quick in their favor. They were interested in the treasure that was in the cave. And then they come up to the beholder. The player, Timmy, used an item he had that already had something in it. It's an item that traps the soul of a creature. Well, traps the whole creature. And you can command it when you release it, and it'll obey your commands for, I think it was like an hour or so many hours. And then you can try to trap it again, or you can dismiss it. So he releases whatever was inside. And it turns out, because we rolled this randomly, that it was a hellfire worm. And the cave wasn't big enough for the hellfire worm. So as it expands to its full size, it decides everything needs some hellfire to make it easier for him to get out. The party runs as fast as they can away. The beholder's destroyed. The treasure's turned into lumps of treasure that they then have to sort through and pack up. They take as much as they can, which is befitting, but definitely not as much as they had earned previously. One of the gargoyles then goes, well, they go back to town, they tell them what's happened, and that was the end of that session. And then the next session, which is the one that's taking place now, they decide to go to the Cyclops village. At least one of the gargoyles does. He goes there. He watches the village for days, because the party's staying at least on this island for up to a week. So about the 6th day, he goes and he makes contact with them. He tries to talk to them, and they don't really understand him, and it takes him a while to find a language that they can communicate into. Once he does, he is in front of the shrine, the statue of Poseidon. He's mock praying, because he actually says that, to Poseidon. And he rolled his bluff check not to be found out by the clerics. The negotiations kind of go nowhere with the Cyclops, but these Cyclops aren't really the ones that were doing the raiding, it was the ones that the ship they had sunk. So the party retreats from their negotiations after that, and then they leave the island to travel to the next destination that was part of the regroup from the survivors of the town. In their travels by ship, Poseidon is angry at the party, so he takes action. The party is now transported to an area where the stars are different, and they're now landing on an island. And that island was not very habitable by humanoids. They found phase wasps, other giant bugs and beetles. There was one other creature, and then they see a hydra on the waterway. So they go up to at least see where the hydra is to try to either deal with the hydra or figure out how to get away from the hydra in an effective manner. Well, battle ends up ensuing with the hydra, and the party regroups within a couple of rounds as they were scouting the island out. And the hydra does some decent amount of damage to some of the party members, but it goes down pretty quick. The party, after killing the hydra, which was also one of Poseidon's pets, angers Poseidon further. The gargoyle who mock prayed to Poseidon mock prays again, trying to get free passage through the ocean. They take sail again, but this time a storm comes up and they are forced to another island. They begin exploring this island after making shelter, because the storm goes on for a while. They make shelter with one of their instant fortresses that they have bought with the vast amounts of funds that they had. And inside the fortress, they wait out the storm, what's left of it. And then they begin exploring the island. But during that evening of the storm, they saw a creature that they were not very familiar with. And they go and explore, and one of the party members gets injured from it, but they retreat because it was not very quick in its pursuit of them. And the creature turned out to be the crab, like lobster-like creature with tentacles sticking out of its mouth. Stands upright like a humanoid. It's at least large in size. And it attacked the party in a way that what are they called? One of those like sand trap bugs would do. It essentially buried itself, and then it shot sand at the party to confuse them for the first round. So they retreat and they leave it alone. So it's very entertaining to watch that, because it's probably going to pursue the party multiple times, at least around the beach, even if it never catches them. The party then, about daytime, encounters a zigzagging tree in the tree line, and it's moving towards them. That tree is a palm tree. It gets closer, and they see that it's a treant. And it comes up and it puts its arm on their shelter and then hurls all over the shelter. The party's like, what? That's weird. And here we're expecting it to attack, and all it's doing is puking on our wall. The party talks to it. It invites them, because they were asking places for shelter, it invites them to the town that there are two-legged inhabitants in. And it's a town that was not built by these things. It's covered in vines, old stone town. Probably 24 buildings total, stretched out over a mile. But the biggest cluster is closer to a shoreline than it is uphill. and there are hobbits. I think there was about a dozen hobbits, but I could be wrong. If I'm wrong, I'm sure one of my players will comment in the comments below, and I always appreciate it. And those hobbits greeted the party, and then the party was interested in something else, and I don't remember what that was, and that was the end of the game session. So that was the recap for last Saturday. Oh yeah, the first island erupted when they were fleeing from the island that had the Hydra. Also had a phoenix in the core of the mountain, and it was erupting when they were leaving. So that just adds more color to their travel. Well, until we play again.